What's up? Welcome back to a fresh new video. This is the fourth time that I have shot this video. This YouTube studio tour has been an absolute challenge, but there's a good lesson in that. And that is that if you want to do this whole YouTube thing, your motivation and your reasoning behind why you want to do a channel and do regular videos has to be way higher than all the challenges that you're going to face. And this is a prime example of just that. And just like that little motivation, little nugget, little thing you can just chew on and take with you, just like that, I'm going to be giving you a lot more tips and tricks throughout this entire video, because this isn't just going to be one of those, hey, here's my camera types of tour. I might do that here and there, but I'm going to try to give you as much small little takeaways as I possibly can. And if that's not going to be enough, if learning from all the mistakes that I have made and giving you some speed on your setup, if that's not enough to get you excited about this video, I'm going to be doing a very special takeaway. Just a quick hint on what that giveaway is going to be. We'll get to that later. But yes, it is finally studio tour day. A few things about the setup before we get into it is that I'm going to be shooting on the a7S III. Then let me show you that, and while I get this shot set up, I'm also going to link above my a7S III setup for filmmaking video, because I'm using all the tips from that. I'm also going to be shooting in S-Log3, which if you're curious how I shoot in S-Log3, I'm going to link that video up top as well. So let's take a look at the setup for today, which is going to be, like I said, the a7S III. I'm running the 16-35 G Master lens on there. We have the Sennheiser AVX microphone system with the MKE2 lav mic, and all of that is running into the Atomos Ninja for my external monitor. I'll probably be carrying that around with me throughout the entire day as well. Last point about the setup is some of the B-roll clips that are going to be shown throughout this entire video. I shot that on a DJI RS2 with the Sony a7S III, and I shot that in 60 frames a second in the SI codec. We're going to break this video down into 3 sections. The first one is going to be get caffeinated. No, it's not going to be coffee. The first section is going to be just general gear that I'm not going to be showing on the tour, things that I do use quite often. From there, I'm going to take you through a full walkthrough of this space. That's section 2. In the third section, we're just going to call that main angle. Show you behind the scenes of everything before I show you how I get that main angle, the one that I've been asked about quite often. Let's jump into that first section. Kicking off the go-to gear, the stuff that I do use in my studio quite often, but we're not going to be featuring on the walk around, is going to be the a7 III with the 24-70 G Master lens on it. I currently have this connected to a switch pod. They did recently come out with a switch pod with a ball head, which I highly recommend, because the first version without a ball head had to attach your own, a little bit annoying. I almost never have the a7 III connected to this. This is typically my on-the-go vlogging style setup, but I have it connected today because this camera is going to act as a really good B cam if I need to show you some details really quickly, like I just did showing the a7S III. And all I did with this, I just connected a small rig Arca style clamp on here, and I use Arca base plates on almost all my cameras, so really quick, smooth connection there. So I like this setup. And my on-the-go microphone is the Rode VideoMic NTG, very versatile microphone. And a lens that I'm not going to be shooting on today, but I love to shoot on in general, is the Zeiss Batis 85 f1.8. I did do a series on 85mm lenses recently. I'll link that up top. You can check that one out. I am using a lot of Pro Mist filters recently, and I currently have a Pro Mist filter on this shot, so the Tiffin Black Pro Mist. And I'm going to do a quick before and after Pro Mist at some point in this video, so if you're curious why I use these, I will show you that a little bit later. Don't use them for every single shot, which when I go to walk around in section 2, I'm actually going to take the Pro Mist filter off, because one thing I don't like about it is when it hits some harsh lights, which we're absolutely going to do in here today. I'm actually going to have a hard time probably getting exposure just right, but anyways, when it hits harsh light, it does have a little bit of a lens flare that I don't love. So I don't use this for everything, but as often as I possibly can, I've got a Tiffin Black Pro Mist on the lens. All right, we are rolling. A couple of storage things. I do have the Nomadic Peter McKinnon lens filter case. This thing is outstanding. McKinnon did a phenomenal job on that, as well as the battery storage little thing here with the magnets. Crush the magnets. And yeah, like I mentioned, Sennheiser AVX lav mic system with the MKE2 lavalier mic. Love the audio quality coming out of this thing. Best lav mic system in my opinion on the market right now. And the last, seemingly less exciting thing to talk about, but I think this is incredibly exciting, is the small rig multi-tool. So for quick clamps and getting things on and off, but more importantly, everything I'm about to show you today, I have rigged up in so many unique ways, and I probably couldn't have done it without this. So these are cheap, and you're gonna wanna have those. Good note is that everything I'm gonna go through today, I'm taking the time to literally list out everything for you. Everything from acoustic panels all the way down to a multi-tool. I'm gonna be linking down below, so if you wanna check some of this stuff out, that's how you're gonna find everything that we're talking about today. That's gonna wrap up section 1, and we're gonna get into section 2. So we're gonna do a full walk around studio tour, and I'm gonna do my best. And you know what? No, I am gonna do better than my best. I am not gonna do one hand transition all day. I'm sure you see those all the time, and I'm committed to not do any of them. So I'm gonna find a way to transition over to the next setup. How was that for the world's most basic and boring transition? All right, first stop on the walk around is going to be the pegboard / charging wall. And besides having all of the basics, right? You got your extra XLRs, extra HDMIs. I have this, I really like this. This is the Rode pistol grip for the NTG5, which is my main studio mic. I'll show you that in a little bit. Pistol grip is nice and versatile. Extra tripods like the Joby, little micro tripod there. This is an underrated thing in any YouTube studio. It's just your tray of things that you can never have enough of, like dust blowers, random remotes, extra batteries. This is a big one. Adapters for baby pins, and when I show you my crazy lighting setups, you'll see why I have so many random accessories floating around, and that's helped out a lot with making things just right in here. Yeah, filmmakers, you know those long 4 to 6 hour shoots, you're running a gimbal all day. This is a game changer. If you can get your forearms stronger, just have some basic, I guess really, yeah. If you don't have one of these, photography clamps will work fine too, but this is a lot harder and they go up to like 225 pounds of resistance. So, but if you don't have one, this will work fine, I guess, in the short term, but I do use this photography clamp for like everything. I have a bunch of them to hang all types of stuff, can never have enough of those. I never use this. DJI Mavic Air, I think I've used it like once or twice. Maybe I should give it to one of you. We'll see. And lint roller. Have this in your studio at all times. I wear a lot of black, clearly, and random dust, just getting that off of your shirts before you shoot can be a nice small thing that goes a long way. Extra FZ batteries for the Ninja. Sony battery charger. In fact, I never leave batteries in there, so I'm glad I took that out, charging too long. And a loop, rechargeable batteries. Use those for my Zoom H5 recorder. That's gonna wrap up the pegboard, storage, and charging wall. Let's go ahead. I'm vlogging with a massive tripod, trying not to hit anything. There we go. You hear that? I'm actually a little embarrassed at this point. I've been trying to shoot this video so many times, and one of the reasons I have to keep stopping is because the same thing keeps happening. Hold on. Finally got it. It's a pro tip. One thing I like to do is I like to do multiple video shoots in the same day. So multiple videos, but to give the illusion that it's a different day, is I'll just change my shirt. And Cuts has always hooked me up with some fantastic t-shirts and hoodies. They're just my favorite things to wear on camera and just in my day-to-day. So if you haven't checked out Cuts yet, this is a great time to do it. You can check the link out below. Cannot recommend these t-shirts and hoodies enough. And while we're here, you may have noticed that I have some of the same acoustic panels that I had over near the pegboard wall. So besides adding some nice symmetry in the room, there's panels everywhere in here from an audio acoustics treatment perspective. Also have the TV up there. Good way to check my work on multiple screens, as well as if I want a collaborative effort while I'm editing, I can just share my edit up on the screen, have some other people in here, and we can talk through some things over a glass of water or a beer. Keeping it moving. This is actually one of my favorite sections of the entire space, and that is this big diffuser, and behind it I have some blackout curtains. So this window, unfortunately the building right across has a really white wall, and the sun hits it and just bounces some super harsh light in here. So the blackout blinds can completely cut that out if I want to completely control the light. Or if I want to have that daylight just hanging up, I just clipped a big diffuser on top of the curtain rod. That's going to just soften all the light in the room. So small little hack that goes a really long way there. We will talk about this main angle. You're probably looking at all this craziness. We'll get into all of that in just a minute. You may have noticed that I'm moving around some of my practical lights. I have a lot of Quasar Science tube lights. I'll have all of them linked. I think I have every single model in here besides maybe the rainbow one. These lithium ion ones in particular though are really nice because you can just move them around like I have been today to help out with some of the lighting challenges that I'm sure I'm facing. I'm doing my best on exposure, but I'm going from some harsh shadows to some harsh highlights in here, so I'm sure it's getting a little bit crazy. All right, let's move on to our last little angle here before we get into the main shot. This is the backdrop that you see from my main angle, and I just have these white artifact shelves. I like how they sit and create some contrast off of the black wall and just keeps things interesting. Also have a foam roller, not always in frame, but it is always in my studio. I can show you how to use this. Again, more fitness things kind of popping up here, but those long editing sessions, if you jump on a roller, you'll feel better, feel a little bit looser pretty quickly. And my main backpack this is the Peak Design travel bag, and been through a lot of backpacks, and so far I'm liking that one a lot. And this is interesting. This is another Quasar Science. This is their cheapest model. I want to say it's a Q50. Probably getting that wrong, but I just have it attached to like just a little dimmer here that I can change with my foot. The reason this light's really important, I have another one a little bit off frame over here. The reason that light is really important is, as you can see when I even do this is sitting directly behind me from my main angle. You can't see it in frame. You don't want like poking out of my head. That would look kind of weird. Just back there, and what it does is I have black walls, I wear a lot of black, and it just helps create a little bit of separation. I'll give a little bit, I'll just do it again. You can see a little bit of a rim light coming around on my back here and just creating some separation. I'm pretty close to the wall too. Some separation off of the wall, which helps out with this dark theme that I have in here. On that same Quasar Science theme, this is their crossfade light. I forget the model of this one too, but this one's nice because you can just change it from 6,000 all the way down to 3,000, to 2,000. That just changes the overall feel of the room pretty quick. So that's always in frame in the backdrop. Oh, forgot to mention this as I was going through some of my go-to gear. Aperture MC light, magnetic. That'll also be in the backdrop, just creating a little bit of an accent light. And I almost always have this light actually set to 6,000. Because as you can see right here, is that does create a little bit of that teal and orange feel, which I do like. I'm a sucker for it, just like most of us. And my acoustic panels, I like how these look as opposed to just a straight black wall, which this one is, which it does look good. So the difference between those two, I think, is kind of nice in frame. But those have helped out a lot with just drying out the echo in the room. All right, and last little piece, I'm just gonna pivot this so you can see. There we go. This is just, I have another one of those Quasar Science light tubes. That is their cheapest model. Again, same thing. I've got it connected to a dimmer. Typically have that one at full blast, but that's just going to create, it's usually off frame, and it's going to just create a little bit of light coming through on whatever I have on this shelf. And also, it's just where I'm from, Coopeville, Washington. So if there's any Pacific Northwesters watching this and you know where that is or you've been there, drop that in the comments down below. But never forget where you came from. I just like having that up at all times. I'm gonna apologize in advance for this terrible angle, but what I'm about to show you might be one of your favorite things in the video, so as bad as the angle is, just check this out. What I've got here is I've got a ceiling light stand connected to a grip head, connected to a boom pole, and all of that is connected to that same Quasar Science lithium ion light that I've been bringing around throughout the studio. What I like about having this up here is that in my main angle, this is sitting about 45 degrees behind my head and shining down to create that nice rim light. It also does create a little bit of overhead fill light on top of the desk, and having that darker desk, if it's darker room, having more light kind of hitting from overhead can be helpful to show what's actually on the desk. But what this also does, what I can quickly do is I can turn this into any type of angle that I want. And I now, if I want to have an overhead light for like a product shot, I now have that pretty easily, which is, I think, a really cool feature. And I'm able to do that because this being a lithium ion light, I don't have any cables to worry about. Just keep it charged. They hold their charge extremely well. I'm a huge fan of all these Quasar Science lights, and like I said, I think I have almost all of their models in here for different purposes. Continuing with this theme of a terrible angle, I want to talk about my key light and my microphone. Two important aspects of the overall main shot, and I have these connected to what I see as a game changer, which is a vari-pole. So shout out to B&H for that great product. And what it is, it allows me just to wedge a pole in between the walls. Why that's a game changer is because what I didn't want to have in this fairly smaller space, it's a bunch of light stands everywhere taking up a bunch of space. So put that up top and I can just attach my key light, which I'm running the Amaran 100D, that new aperture light that just came out. It is phenomenal. I have nothing but good things to say about it. Currently have the Light Dome 2 attached to that, but when that Light Dome SE comes out, I'm probably gonna check that out. Anyways, I got the Light Dome on the Amaran 100D connected to a Manfrotto friction arm, just with a super clamp to that overhead vari-pole, which is a fantastic way to save some space and get a really good angle. Similar setup for my boom mic, which is running the Rode NTG5. One piece you do notice is that this key light is about 45 degrees. My main angle, the camera typically sits right here. It's about 45 degrees to the side of that. It's about 45 degrees of a high angle coming down at me. I actually think it could be a little bit higher, but I want to get that as close as possible without being in frame to get that nice soft light and get a nice wrap around the shadows. So like how this setup has turned out a lot. A few smaller details about my desk here that are helpful for the overall production of these videos. I have the Zoom H5. I just have it clamped to the desk. Kind of similar to putting like a vari-pole overhead. I just felt like instead of having stuff sitting on the desk, if they're clamped and in a nice position, that it just makes things a little bit more regular and easier to flow with. So the Zoom H5 and my XLR cable, that same red cable you may have noticed on the mic overhead, 25-foot cable that's just strung on the side of the room, up that vari-pole and over to the microphone. And I'm just gonna show you the last couple things here, and let's get a little bit tighter on those. I've got my Atomos Ninja 5 connect to a small rig arm connected to the desk via a clamp, noticing a theme here. And just this nice little practical light. I actually typically put this in the backdrop if I'm shooting, but I like to put it just here if I'm working. I like how that light just kind of feels on the desk. But this thing is clutch. I usually have a longer HDMI cable that's connected to wherever the camera ends up going. And I keep this thing with the AC power always plugged in as opposed to using a battery. It's just easier if I'm on the go. Obviously a battery makes more sense. And the Rode NT1, this is my studio mic that I'll use for voiceovers. I've actually been liking how it looks like sideways. I think that will look pretty cool on camera as opposed to what I've done in the past with like vertical, but solid mic there. But let's go ahead, let's take this practical. It's magnetic, so it's typically just up on the shelf as one of the lights in the backdrop. And speaking of that, let's show that final main angle and close this video out with that giveaway. One thing I forgot to mention that I like about the Amaran 100D key light is that it connects to the Sidus Link app, which when you have your camera connected to the Atomos Ninja 5 with the zebras turned on, you can just tune in your exposure just by looking at the zebras on the screen and get your key light set just right. So that's kind of a cool, quick little hack to save some time. So the black Pro Mist filter, like I said, I don't like using it in every single shot. Like when I was doing a walk around and hitting some of those harsh tube lights, it puts this kind of this weird flare on the screen. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put it on right now and you're gonna see the difference between what it looks like without this on versus with. And now we got the Pro Mist filter on. It's stressful putting that on in front of people. Usually you just like put your lens filter on, but when people are like waiting, it's kind of stressful. See, if I even move out of frame, now that you know what's behind me, you can see that on my shoulder, that little lens flare? That would not be there if the Tiffin filter wasn't on. But because I block that light, and again, it just creates that separation for me. Because I block that light, I don't get the actual lens flare from it, but I get all the benefits of a Pro Mist filter, like some of those diffused highlights, and makes me look a little better too. But it's giveaway time, and yeah, you knew what I was gonna do. I'm giving away my DJI Mavic Air. Just feel like there's probably somebody out there who would appreciate this a lot more than me because I never use it. And I think it's a cool way too for me to show some support back to those of you who have either supported this channel for a while or who have just come across it and you're like, I could win a drone. It's like, yes, you can win a drone. All you gotta do is fill the form out down below and I'll look forward to sending that to one of you. I really hope this video turns out. It took me a long time, but anyways, my name is Sean DeWispelaire. This channel is all about the skills behind the art of creativity, photography, videography, editing, gear reviews, as well as apparently studio tours. Me being full-time in the fitness industry, it's always gonna have just a bit of a fitness feel to it. So if that's something that you're into, hit the subscribe button down below. I've got a lot of plans for some future videos that I hope you stick around to see. And if this video has helped you at all with your YouTube studio or anything else that I may have done, maybe it was the grip trainer, give it a thumbs up. It helps me out a lot, and I'll look forward to seeing all of you in the next video. Take care. See ya.